to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We begin this meeting with acknowledgement of and honor for the many legacies that have impacted our community, particularly those buried over time. Acknowledging truth is critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. Cheltenham Township stands with the Lenape-Ho-Kink, the ancestral homeland of the Lenni Lenape civilization. Their people were and still are caretakers of this land and its rivers, and their legacy continues. We pay respect to their elders, past and present. Our community owes its existence and vitality to generations from around the world who contributed their hopes, dreams, and energy to making the history that led to this moment. Some were brought here against their will, some were drawn to leave their distant homes in hope of a better life, and some have lived on this land for more generations than can be counted. Please take a moment to consider the many legacies of violence, displacement, migration, and settlement that bring us together. As a school district committed to fostering intellectual curiosity and discourse in service of social justice, join us in uncovering such truths.
Thank you, Ms. Mulhern. Next, we will have the roll call by Ms. Hatcher.
Good evening. Mrs. Blissstein,
Ms. Blissing will not be present tonight.
Mr. Burdell Williams,
Present.
Mr. X,
Present.
Ms. Henry,
Present.
Ms. Loman,
Present.
Ms. Mulhern,
Present.
Ms. Murphy,
Present.
Mr. Schultz,
Present.
Dr. Wyden.
Present.
Thank you. That concludes our roll call.
Thank you, Ms. Hatcher. We will move to public comments on agenda items only. If you are here in the auditorium, you can approach the podium, state your name and where you reside in the district.
At Cedarbrook East. I am here today to ask that the middle schools and the high schools consider moving back their start times, a little bit later start times. We are looking at this from a parent perspective, from me, and then I have with me Sebastian and Everett Cohn and Sebastian Foglioli. They're here today to give the student perspective. They did a podcast in their class. They felt strongly about this, and they wanted to bring it before you today. And this is a big deal. Sebastian's even here on his birthday. He's here to be here with y'all. So I think that y'all are probably all up to date on the research about this. This is a pretty popular topic, but I'm going to go over a couple of the high notes. National sleep organizations say that 8:30 a.m. or later is best for the school age of children. Their circadian rhythms move back. They move back when they get to be that age, but they still need 8 to 10 hours of sleep. And we have data. We're not the first school district to do this. Lots of other school districts have done it. And so we're not forging ahead. We have data on whether or not this is a good thing to do. What you see is when you move it back, attendance goes up and grades go up too. You see these effects. They're statistically significant with as little as 35 extra minutes of sleep. Now, this happens. This is very important to me as a parent because within this great age group is when kiddos start driving. And with this extra sleep, you see reduced car crashes, and you see that the older student drivers are more in control of themselves emotionally, both behind the wheel and in the classroom. We have precedent in Montgomery County, Lower Marion High School, 8:40 a.m. start time. They are making it work with athletics and activities. It hasn't been a problem so far. We now have 3 transport schedules instead of 4 this year. So I see an opportunity. I'm hoping that we can use that opportunity to move back these times. I have heard that the high school has a pretty creative approach to the solution, and they've been doing it and they've implemented it immediately, which I very, very much approve of. They have WIN in their first period. This means that students have the option to come in a little bit later if they would like to. It's a fantastic, incredibly flexible, very creative way to address the problem, but it is a Band-Aid. It cannot be thought of as a permanent solution because it is not equitable. There isn't busing. So the only ones who can really take advantage of that situation are the privileged parents. So with that, I will conclude the parents section of this and I'll bring up our kiddos. Tell us what they think about moving the start time backs. Oh.
Hello, good evening.
Um,
My name is Sebastian Baglioli. I go to Cedarbrook Middle School and I'm in 8th grade.
My name's Everett Cohn. I go to Cedarbrook Middle School. I'm also in 8th grade. We both live in Elkins Park.
So last year when we were in 7th grade for a gifted program, we decided that we were going to make a podcast that debated if school time should start later, where we listed the pros and cons of these later start times. And we're just gonna like summarize what we said basically.
Unfortunately, yeah, we can't play our podcast for you
But if we,
today.
if you like, we can share it with you guys.
So you can listen to it on time. So a lot of what we said is similar to what she said. Students with not enough sleep tend to fall behind on certain things, and more sleep help increase that productivity.
According to an assistant principal interviewed for a podcast, a later school start time has been shown to positively bring up achievement, attendance, and brings better, more positive behavior to a school environment.
And with sports and stuff at the end of the school day, a lot and homework, students are tending to go to bed later. So if we start school earlier or later, I meant, they can make up those lost hours of sleep by sleeping in more.
Less sleep is often linked to negative emotions, and evidence says that bullying and depression can also root from less sleep. So if we push the school start time back later, then that could mean that bullying and depression could at least come down a little bit.
Also, less sleep is linked to failing grades and inability to retain certain information. And more sleep can help increase those aspects of the students.
Our personal opinion is that we shouldn't push it back too late. Definitely not over an hour or something, because I have sports, there's like homework and other after school activities that could then be pushed too late into the night.
And we don't want it to go too late, because then if sports are happening too late, then there tends to be there wouldn't be any change, right? You're just going to bed later and waking up with the same amount of sleep. So,
That's all we have to say. Thank you for listening.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Kaufman, if you could make sure you secure the information so we can get a copy of that podcast and any other materials that they would like to provide, that would be helpful. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right, so we will move to our approval of our minutes for our August 12th meeting. Can I have a motion to approve?
So move. Second.
Everyone in favor say aye.
Aye.
The minutes are approved. Mr. Diazio will provide the solicitor's report.
Thank you. Good evening. The board did meet in executive session earlier this evening prior to tonight's public meeting. The board discussed tax assessment appeal litigation and also settlement of special education litigation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Diazio. Our student council report will be provided by Ms. Saberu, and also the new student council president, Josh Owens, will introduce himself to the board. And is not present? And you are? Thank you. Oh, go. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Okay. Hello, my name is Elizabeth Stryker. I'm representing the Cheltenham Student Council. I'm here to communicate updates from our August 26th meeting. First, the date of homecoming is September 20th from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. The doors close at 8. The theme is Roaring 20s, so the colors are going to be black, white, gold, and cream. The football game is September 19th, 7 p.m. at Wissahickon High School, and t-shirts and ticket sales will be available from September 14th to the 19th.
Hi, I'm Joshua Owens. This is the first year that I'm on student council, but I'm the student council president for this year. And you got Lucas.
Hello, I'm Lucas No, the student council vice president.
We don't have much to add right now, but I do have a little debate for later.
Us as student council president and vice president, our mission is to make the students' voices heard. As you can see, there are not many students in attendance of today's meeting, so we as student council president and vice president can be that voice in these meetings so that the students' voice is heard at these school board meetings.
Thank you.
Thank you, and we welcome your voice at these meetings. We will move to our committee reports. Mr. Schultz will preview. Oh, wait a minute. Let's get right by you, right? Blame it on jet lag. Look, I got a big sticky up under the bridge. Next, we have our superintendent report. Dr. Scriven.
So good evening. We have a pretty robust superintendent's report. As I really want to elevate and talk with you briefly around some of the initiatives directly specific to continuous improvement and the instructional framework that we are implementing for this year. The first slide speaks to the conditions for positive change in any school district, and this is grounded in best practices. There are 10 conditions, and they're put into 5 different buckets. The first is leadership and vision. Second is equity and engagement, systems and structures, capacity and collaboration, and having a climate of culture and trust. Next slide, please. You're going to kind of see a crosswalk of where these, I'll call them tenets or conditions, are actually aligned and manifested in the work we are doing as a central office and ultimately transferring this framework down through our principals to their instructional leadership teams, our teachers holistically, and ultimately the beneficiaries are our students. When you talk about what is an instructional framework, it's very simple. It's a clear, structured approach to curriculum development and instructional practices. We have a mission and a vision that we elevate before every meeting. We're big in terms of diversity. We're big in terms of being inclusive. And we want our students to feel a sense of belonging. We want them to be engaged. And there's a strong component of social justice. There is one thing in year 5 now as superintendent that I recognize I have not moved at warp speed. I've really been very intentional around making sure that as a district, we are in a place where, as we're trying to break silos and be a system of schools, the whole piece around norming best practices is paramount to our work. in speaking with teachers, and I have a lot of admiration for our teachers. For many years, they've been kind of left to their own devices. And we have not been very explicit around what our expectations are. One, around curriculum, pacing guides, and two, around our expectations with respect to instructional delivery. I have to be very forthright that Dr. Savage, who's sitting at the end of the table, and her team, which is behind her, have truly been the drivers of coming up with some structures that we will be implementing this current year. This will be our first in many years, and I will just speak to my tenure. So in 5 years that we've had a very concrete, explicit instructional framework which outlines what the expectations of our classroom teachers, what our paras and our support staff should look like in our respective classrooms. The HQIM, which is a high quality instructional materials, is part of that work. We have to make sure that we are purchasing the resources which will best meet the needs of our diverse student population. Next slide, please. I kind of spoke to our core beliefs, and I'm gonna go off script just a little bit. As we have families that are in the audience, as we have students which are in the audience, part of our work under our strategic plan, and you guys can find our strategic plan on our website, there's 7 pillars. One of the pillars speaks specifically to the portrait of a graduate. Those are the core competencies as a district that we feel as students are matriculating K through 12 and in their senior year, they should have prior to graduating. We have done groundwork and have a framework, but now we are really pushing out to the communities. And I think you just heard it by our high school students, the necessity to have a voice. We want all stakeholders to have a voice in this process. So members from central office are going to be pushing out to PTO meetings. They're going to be creating surveys. They're going to have a Saturday workshop, which will be advertised in order to really facilitate the conversation around what these core competencies should look like with respect to a portrait of a graduate. Ultimately, when you see it reference all students, we really mean that as a district. There should be no child that does not have a personalized educational experience within the district which meets their specific unique needs. Next slide, please. What is curriculum? I think I've done a good job articulating that, but one piece I would like to highlight is really in that third bullet. And that is also one of our pillars when we talk about being culturally responsive. As you are aware, the richness of our community truly is the diversity of our community. And when we talk about that high quality instructional materials, we need to make sure that those cultural responsive aspects of any student within the district, they should be able to see themselves in some form or fashion in our curriculum. And it should be authentic, real experience that they are actively engaged with in the learning process. Next slide, please. When you talk about the how in the instructional framework, you're really talking about the methodologies that we're going to be using. And I can sum this up pretty briefly. There's a lot of words on these slides. I did that intentionally because this is a public facing document. I want anybody to be able to go to this document and have a clear understanding of what we are expecting our faculty, our staff, our administration to be able to do. Instructional rounds is going to be new for us this year. We are coming up with a quarterly schedule to go through grades K through 12 and observe teachers. In this first round, they have volunteered and norm best practices. Part of accelerating student outcomes is making sure that we are collaborative in terms of norming the great things we see happening in classrooms, in certain schoolhouses, in certain grades across the district as a whole. And that is what the work is going to really focus on this school year. I'm taking this slow because I want teachers to understand this is not a gotcha. We are not coming after teachers. We're coming after those best practices that teachers across our districts are implementing so we can systemically norm those practices and make them a part of what we do on a daily basis when we talk about instructional delivery. Next slide, please. You've heard me mention a couple times alignment to our strategic plan. I want you to understand there's two components. There's a comprehensive plan, which we're responsible for doing, and we're now in year 3 of implementing our strategic plan. As we're moving forward with the implementation of year 3 of our strategic plan, we will also be doing a self-assessment of what the next cycle of that 3-year strategic plan should look like. We are taking it very seriously that the strategic plan is not something which is just sitting on a shelf, but it is truly the driver of how we are looking at approaching the continuous improvement process here within the district. You see the mission statement and the vision statement within this slide. And that's because that is truly, as a district, what we say we stand for, and part of the lived experience that our students should have each and every day. Next slide, please. You heard me speak already about norming the best practices, but I wanted you to know that we're doing this research-based. Everyone's familiar with Charlotte Danielson. It is the framework which we use for evaluating teachers. We're going to be using those fundamental clusters under Charlotte Danielson to norm our best practices. This is something that has been happening across districts for years, but we within our district have never really been intentional around how we go about lesson planning, how we go about the professional learning community or the PLC process. We're data driven, but I want us to be on the same page with how we are analyzing data and how we're making informed decisions around how we need to adjust instruction. There's a heavy focus, especially at our elementary levels, around small group instruction. How are we using WIN, not just as an opportunity where kids are attached to a computer, but how are we reteaching? How are we extending for those who already have it? And how are we creating unique opportunities for each and every child in terms of meeting them where they are based on certain skills as we're moving through the scope and sequence of the curriculum? Doing that collaboratively is something that we are strong at as a district. Teachers do not leave teachers on an island by themselves. They are very open with sharing, but it's usually within specific buildings. And now we're creating opportunities where teachers can have conversations across buildings in terms of norming those practices. You can skip this side because I already spoke to this and go to fostering cross-district collaboration and eliminating silos. I just want to accelerate or reiterate the core principles around systemic change and how that does truly accelerate, because when individuals have all arrows pointing the same direction, and we're unified in terms of our approach, we're not trying to do a cookie cutter approach. We're not trying to take teachers' originality away from them, but there are certain non-negotiables that we need to make sure that we are doing across the board, where specifically at the elementary level, it should not matter whether you're at Glenside or at Cheltenham Elementary. There should be some consistent look-fors that any family would see reflected in all of our schools, regardless. And that is what this is all about. The consistency reduces confusion. Right now, we're being explicit because we want teachers to understand clearly what is expected of them, the same way that we want teachers to make it explicit for students what the expectations in the classroom should look like. Next slide, please. So ultimately, we're hoping that through these practices, learning will be accelerated. And I want to elevate just the whole MTSS process. This is something that we are only in year 3 of, but we had no MTSS process, no multi-tiered student support process. We now can drill down to an individual student. We can look at early warning indicators based on specific data points of students, and we can have very specific interventions that we should be doing as practitioners to address whatever those deficits that students may be experiencing or encountering, so that we can give them that opportunity to reach their full potential. Next slide. I do need to elevate Debbie, which is diversity, equity, belonging, and inclusion. That is the essence, and that is another pillar under our strategic plan of an area where we have teachers specifically who are stipend and leading that work. It's important that if we say that we are a district that takes pride in being diverse, that we put our resources, and you can see that manifested in our day-to-day work. Next slide, please. This data-driven approach, you will see through Ed Affairs when we present the continuous school improvement plans for each school. They will give an overview of their data. They will speak to root causes, and they will talk about action plans in terms of what they're going to intentionally do to address the identified deficits that they're seeing in their buildings. We now have universal screeners that we use to give us a baseline of where our students are within our district. Link It is our data portal that we are becoming very fluid in using on a daily basis. And I already spoke to our MTSS process. Next slide. When you talk about the key takeaways, it's really simple, and I could have probably kept it in one slide, but I want everybody to really understand how in-depth this process truly is and the work that we are embarking on. Framework provides clear instructional paths. The Danielson framework norms best practices. Collaboration fosters systemic change, and data-driven decisions enhance learning. We know that as a district, we work extremely hard. We are now trying to norm our practices where we are working smart. And in doing that, the hope is that there will be collective transformation that we see in student outcomes when we talk about the high stake assessments, which we are accountable for as a district, based on Pennsylvania, requirements or criteria. So, that brings closure, to my board report. This again will be a public facing, document. And any of you can feel free, to email, me specifically if you want a deeper dive or if you need clarity around any topic. I do want to address one parent, who did send an email around some of our PSSA data. And all I would say right now is I know that we have remained stagnant or status quo in certain areas. We've showed slight improvement in others, but we know that as a district, we are nowhere near where we want to be. And it's these initiatives like implementing instructional framework, instructional rounds, the professional development arc, in terms of giving teachers the training that they need to be able to implement the plan with fidelity, are all components of what we are collectively attempting to do as a district, to move us the direction that ultimately we all know we want us to go.
Mr. Epps?
Point of privilege or whatever. I wanted to offer, I appreciate these remarks and the timing right at the beginning-ish of the school year. And I feel strongly to share, we don't often respond to superintendent's work, but I feel strongly because this gets to the heart of why I joined the board. And it is, I was in thinking about it, right? It's really, no matter your location in the district, right, your perceived ability, your culture, your gender, and expectations that come along with that, those things shouldn't matter, right? This should be a place where students feel like they belong, people care for them, they have expectations that they can succeed, and that they have the inspiration and resources to do that. And so we have heard clearly the practical, not easy, but the practical strategies that are in place, right? Not just for today, but continuous to hopefully continue to improve on these strategies in very clear ways. And so I appreciate that we have students, parents, administrators, community members, all under the umbrella tonight. I feel like in some ways we can put a flag under there, because once we have clear expectations in a collaborative way, this really is when change starts to take root, happen. And so I have trust in our administrators that the plan is understood, that we have a vision that starts from the top, and a shared vision. I have trust that it's known how to put these things into place. And I also trust that we have volunteers we have ready to take this on. And we also have students who are ready to stand up and participate with us in this process. So I'm not going to belabor it, but I do feel very strongly to express the trust that I have in the administration to carry us forward. And this really this is why I joined the board, to be able to lend my voice and experience and thoughts to accelerating student growth.
Thank you, Mr. Epps, and thank you, Dr. Scriver. We will move to our committee reports. Mr. Schultz will provide the Financial Affairs Committee update.
Thank you, Madam President. The Finance Committee met on September 2nd in a hybrid format. Following roll call and approval of minutes, the committee reviewed our interim financial statements, which are very early in the year. It's still very exciting. We also received a report around the unaudited 2025 financial results. And the headline there is that there was a net change, a minimal net change in fund balance, and a 1.5 million transfer of funds to future projects, which, as we all know, there are some construction projects that are part of our capital plan, so it will go towards those, I imagine. Then there was a review of bond processes and possible implications of a bond on our financial outlook for the next decade or so, as well as a review of the independent fiscal audit timeline, which is a process in which an independent body reviews our books and reviews our accounting to just confirm that everything is going as it has been reported. And then finally, we ended with a review of the budget process, which, believe it or not, even though we just finished last year's budget process, is starting afresh for us. as we wait for the states to do finish their last year's budget process. The next meeting will be held in the administration building and with a hybrid option via Zoom on the evening of October 7th, following the facilities committee meeting. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Dr. Whiting will provide the Educational Affairs Committee update.
Thank you, Madam President. The Educational Affairs Committee did not meet in the month of August. The next Educational Affairs Committee meeting will be Tuesday, September 16th in a hybrid format here in the Administration Building in room 102 and via Zoom. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Dr. Whiting. Mr. Burdell Williams will provide the update for Eastern Center for Arts and Technology.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. The Eastern Center for Arts and Technology met on August 14th via Zoom. I typically start my reports with the student of the month, but I think most people, because I know everyone's listening so intently for this report every month. August, we do not have a student of the month, but that does not mean that I don't have an update for a student from Eastern. So the update for this month is just reflecting on the experience of a recent graduate of Eastern, Miss Kayla Atkins. She's a 2024 graduate of Eastern's Veterinary Science Program, as well as Springfield Township High School. She's currently participating in the Envision program, which is a summer internship held at Allen Laboratories through the University of Delaware. She's enjoying the experience and had a lot to share about her specific research journey. And for folks who do or do not know, as a microbiologist and vaccine scientist, I was very encouraged to read the things that she's doing as a freshman. So throughout the summer, Kayla was testing 10 different isolates of the Newcastle disease virus that's found in chickens. She had a scientific process and has been completing some research and is still working on that research. What was very important about her experience, though, is that during her time at Eastern, Kayla was an outstanding student, but she explored drawing and painting as a way to lift her spirits and as an outlet for her creativity during the pandemic. And in 2022, she submitted one of her paintings to PBS 39 and was chosen as Artist of the Month. Ironically, she didn't go to Eastern for art. She went to Eastern for veterinary science. But just to, I think the context of that is very important, just to explain to folks, right, that one of the purposes of an experience at Eastern is to maybe determine what you do or do not want to do with a career or an area of interest of yours. So maybe she wanted to go, if she would have gone for art, that she may have gone and taken that path. But looking at her experience in veterinary science is very much so a positive experience, and happy to see that from one of our students. For the record, she's majoring in pre-veterinary studies at University of Delaware and hopes to study diseases and their effects on animals. Just one informational item from the Joint Operating Committee was we got an early read on Eastern's enrollment for the 25-26 school year. And as of August 1st, Eastern total enrollment was 691 students, with 84 students on the wait list, which represents 93% capacity. This is slightly lower than the 699 students from last year. However, as discussed previously, the Joint Operating Committee, as well as Eastern's administration, has been investing time and resources in understanding how, in fact, to reduce that wait list, because there are 691 students going to Eastern this year, but those 84 students are missing out on an opportunity that could potentially lead them to become the next pre-veterinary student at the University of Delaware. So with that, the board received, actually the Joint Operating Committee approved the proposal for the new building trades program at Eastern, which is intended to help reduce the wait list in areas such as electrical, HVAC, and construction, which have been traditionally programs that have a significant wait list and not very much space for taking a student or two above capacity. And
To go along with that, as previously mentioned to this board and the community, the lease agreement for practical nursing was ratified with the Upper Moreland Township School District for a lease of space to move Eastern's practical nursing program to Upper Moreland High School and allow Eastern to undergo a construction project to implement the building trades program. So to round that out, in the time that I've been supporting the Joint Operating Committee, Eastern, with the approval of the proposal for the new program, has now embarked upon 3 new programs. The first was robotics, the second was exercise science and rehabilitation, and now building trades. And this reflects, again, Eastern's commitment to equitable and also a very wide-ranging amount of program offerings to do our best to provide every student that wants to come to Eastern an opportunity to be there. That was the core of our August meeting. There were a few items for approval, but nothing of particular interest to the board at this time. The next meeting of the Eastern Center for Arts and Technology Joint Operating Committee is tomorrow, September 10th at 8 p.m. via Zoom. The link to that meeting can be found on Eastern's website at eastech.org. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Burdell Williams. Ms. Loman will provide the update for the MCIU.
Thank you, Ms. Henry. The Montgomery County Intermediate Unit met on August 27th, 2025, the board. For folks in the audience, and thank you to faces I haven't seen before, thank you for people coming to this meeting. The Montgomery County Intermediate Unit is an educational services agency that provides educational and social services to Montgomery County's 22 school districts, along with non-public schools in the district, or in the county, charter schools, and some other educational agencies. So each school district that the MCIU serves has a school board member who serves on the MCIU's board. So this report is about the meetings that we have 10 times a year of the MCIU board. Our first one for this school year was August 27th. I am not going to go over everything that we approved at this meeting. These meetings tend to be fairly long. Just a couple of interesting pieces of information. At least that, I think it's interesting. The director of the Office of Human Services, Jack Hurd, for the MCIU, presented on the work of his office and provided some data related to that work. Since July 2024, there have been 200 new hires at the MCIU. 130 staff have left or retired, and there have been 100 leaves of absences, 70 for child rearing. So he has got his work cut out for him. He is a busy man. The folks in his office are very busy. Couple of other interesting pieces of information. The intermediate unit provides a preschool early intervention program to young children with developmental delays. That program currently has a 40% deficit in its budget for this year, partially due to pre-service investment costs, which are initial evaluations that the IU is required to provide that are not covered by state funding. In addition, state funding, which obviously hasn't come through yet, is also remained flat for early intervention for the past several years. So that program continues to sort of struggle with making sure they're meeting the federal mandates with the limited amount of funding that they get from the state. There, as I mentioned, there is still no state budget. And as a result, the MCIU board was requested to approve a $15 million revenue anticipation note resolution, which the board did approve. Those funds would be for the sole purpose of continuing MCIU operations until the state budget impasse ends. And the funds are currently being withheld by the state, are released to the MCIU by the comptroller's office. So this is basically the IU's backup plan. Hopefully we won't have to tap into those funds, but we have it in case we need it. We passed 13 program budgets for the 2025-26 school year. And the other thing of interest that just came up was there there was some more discussion about the cost of cyber charter schools and the advocacy work that the MCIU is doing around the cost of cyber charter school enrollment to school districts. Just interesting number. There's 2,123 there's 2,123 students enrolled in cyber charter schools in Montgomery County. So that itself could be its own school district, 2,100 students. School districts are paying about $25 million in cyber charter school tuition for just regular education students. And if that were capped at $8,000 per student, it would go down to $12.5 million that districts would be spending. So this is obviously a huge issue for advocacy. The IU and several other IUs were out in Harrisburg last week, trying to talk to state legislators about the need to sort of bring in these cyber charter school costs. I don't really know where that's all going to stand. It seems like it may not be happening this year, unfortunately, again. So there was quite a bit of discussion about that at the meeting as well. And then the only other thing I wanted to mention is the IU has an Office of Technology Services that is also extremely busy, and we approved 95 contracts for that office. They provide all kinds of IT services across the state. And they just keep kind of moving forward with it all. The next MCIU board meeting will be held on Wednesday, September 24th at 6:45 p.m. in person at the IU's main office in Norristown and also over Zoom. That's my report.
Thank you, Ms. Loman. Mr. Burdell Williams will provide the Facilities Committee update.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The September meeting for the Facilities Committee was held on September 2nd in a hybrid format. As we should expect in the coming months with the number of construction projects that we have in progress and also pending, we can expect that our updates from the Facilities Committee will carry quite a bit of information around those. But not to be exhaustive here, because we'd love for everybody to come to the committee meeting, and also if you want at your leisure, enjoy the YouTube recording as well. So just some quick minutes to help with some context around what we heard. So first update was related to the CHS Stadium project. I stand outside on Easton Road twice a week to look at the stadium. Somebody's probably seen me out there before, but I'm obviously one who is very excited to see the progress and also the completed project when it's all done. But we saw some photos of what it looks like inside now for folks who aren't doing things like standing on the side of Easton Road like me. There is concrete pouring that's in progress for the new bleachers, as well as leveling of the overall surface and a lot of dirt that's been moving in order to allow for the excavation there and layering to be completed as pre-work in order to get the turf actually rolled out at some point in the near future. In terms of the overall project, from a cost perspective, so far about 10% of the budget, a little more than 10% of budgeted costs have been realized, but along with an expected increase in progress with that project over the next month or two, there will also be with that an associated increase in budget line items as well, because work tasks will get completed and checked off the checklist. In terms of the other big project at CHS that started over the summer, the roof replacement on the front portion of the building that covers Stratton Hall and a portion of the front of the building has been completed. As a reminder to the community, this particular project was funded significantly by approximately $1 million in grant funds from a PA State School Improvement Grant. So very happy to have that project done. I know it's not something that folks can necessarily ride by and see, but something that you should be proud of at least. Thinking about our Glenside and Cedarbrook additions, the current work for Site Logic and full cost estimation is still happening. All of the approvals are proceeding as planned, and the permitting application process is already in progress. If I am not mistaken, October is the bid date that I think we were expecting for some construction activities, as well as site management activities, and hoping for all of that to happen together, and then have to bid out all of the other aspects of those projects, plumbing, electrical, et cetera. For the 5th and 6th grade moves, so there was a sort of big thing that happened over the summer with our fifth graders staying in their elementary schools for the future, and also our sixth grade students moving into CBK East. There was a lot of work done at CBK East to make that space as, is that an alarm for me to? Okay, thought we have reached thought we have reached new heights here. That's fantastic. I like it though. I like the accountability measure. So on that note, the fifth and sixth grade move to CBK East also included some furniture movement. So some of the new furniture that already been purchased have been moved around. And also to elementary schools in the district to make space for new furniture that was bought to support CBK East right now, but will then be moved into Cedarbrook once the addition is done. So it's not a one-time purchase, and let's figure out what we're going to do with it. This was a purchase made today. That's actually a long-term need based on the Cedarbrook project. Last project that we discussed slightly was just the HVAC project at the high school, which is again still in its infancy. There's a proposal and a plan, but the drawing process, which if you can imagine, is significant, can take approximately 12 to 18 months, and we are in that process now. The next meeting of the Facilities Committee is on October 7th at 7 p.m., both here in the Administration Building and in the hybrid format. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Riddell Williams. Ms. Maher will provide the liaison group update.
Thank you, Madam President. The liaison group has not met since our last meeting, and we will be meeting next on Monday, September 15th at 8 a.m. Via Zoom. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Maher. Ms. Loman will provide the policy committee update.
Thank you, Ms. Henry. The policy committee met on Tuesday, August 26th at 7 p.m. in person and over Zoom. After roll call and approval of minutes from the May 21st policy committee meeting, the committee had a second reading of two policies, both of which the board will be voting on for adoption tonight. These second read policies are policy number 121, field trips, last revised in 2017. This policy has been revised to clarify that it applies to trips that are part of the regular course of instruction. It defines what a field trip is, and it specifically states that administrative regulations adopted pursuant to it shall include provisions to ensure the participation of students with disabilities. The board also reviewed and discussed the accompanying AR for this policy. And then the second policy that's up for adoption tonight is policy 121.1, other student travel, last reviewed in 2019. This policy applies to all non-field trip student travel, such as senior class trips, international exchange programs, etc. There were just some very minor edits to this policy to remove some unnecessary cross-references and fix a few typographical errors. The board also reviewed and discussed the accompanying administrative regulation for this policy. The board then had a first reading of 12 policies, which will be reviewed again at the next policy committee meeting in October. These first read policies are policy number 102, academic standards. There's a lot. I summarized them, but I don't think anybody wants to necessarily read my entire summary of them. But they are listed on the agenda. Just point out a couple. There's a policy on assessment and reporting of student progress. And there aren't any changes that are being proposed to the policy, but the administrative regulation that implements the policy is being changed to reflect current practice that divides the elementary school term now into 4 report periods or marking periods instead of 3. So that was a change in the AR. We also looked at a couple of new employee related policies, personal necessity leave and uncompensated leave. We haven't had those policies before, and as the district is getting more requests for unpaid leave from its employees, we need to have a policy to make sure that we're applying our practices uniformly. We also looked at policies on district-wide safety, employee disciplinary procedures, and employee freedom of speech in non-school settings. And then possibly the board's favorite policy of the year, service animals. This policy has been revised to clarify that the only acceptable service animals are dogs, with, in certain circumstances, the exception being miniature horses. So have that policy in place. We'll be looking at that again, actually. And then we looked at several policies around facilities planning and maintenance, and then also one on transportation. The best way to learn about how the board is reviewing its policies is to come to a policy committee meeting. Policy creation is one of a school board's key functions. We have 3 key functions: create policy, approve policy, hire and evaluate the superintendent, and adopt a budget. So policy is often where kind of the rubber meets the road for the school board. So our next policy meeting is currently scheduled to be held on Tuesday, October 28th at 7 p.m. here at the administration building and over Zoom. That date may be subject to change. And as a reminder, all active and draft board policies can be found on Board Docs, which is accessible by going to the school district's website, clicking on the school board tab, and then clicking on Board Docs under school board. So all of these policies that I just talked about are available to the public at all times. This ends my report.
Thank you, Ms. Loman. Mr. Epps will provide the legislative update.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm a member of the Montgomery County Legislative Committee for board members. And so board members from the entire county join periodically to talk about what's happening in Harrisburg, what's happening in DC that is relevant to education, particularly in Cheltenham. So a couple of major items, as you've heard from a finance perspective, from the MCIU perspective, the lack of a state budget from a legislative perspective is an opportunity for, again, students, parents, community members, whomever lives in Cheltenham, to share your voice with our legislators. We do have State Representative Napoleon Nelson, who sits on the Education Committee, and also State Senator Art Haywood, who sits on the Appropriation Committee. And so 2 committees who decide on how education is funded as well. Our representatives are on those committees. So from typically just aligned with our calendar, we would hope that the state budget is passed around the June timeline that we pass our budget. It does have an impact on us in different ways as we talk about our revenue and the sources of our revenue. If we don't know what's coming from the state, we still have to make decisions about how to fund the initiatives that we just heard about earlier in the presentation. And so it is something that our administration tracks very closely. But from a legislative advocacy point of view, no one is, anyone can share their voice or how you think funds should be allocated. Last year, this time, there was a lot of talk about the Supreme Court case that actually said the state is not meeting its constitutional duty to adequately fund schools. Unfortunately, that's taken a backseat to some other conversations this year, but that is still the case. And so whether it's cyber charter schools and savings that can be realized via that channel, special education costs related to charter schools or revenue in itself, all of those things are unfortunately talked about behind closed doors largely, but that still doesn't limit us to sharing our voice. There is a new sheriff in town when it relates to PD, Pennsylvania Department of Education. Dr. Carrie Rowe was acting secretary. She was unanimously approved last month to be the permanent secretary of education. And so that is something to track. She has a background as a teacher, I believe a Spanish teacher. She was a principal and administrator before that. So encouraged to know that there's a perspective from a school building at the highest levels of decisions. So we still have that perspective. So again, the legislative session is in action. So the House and the Senate are meeting. They do have session days. And so there are some bills that are under conversation now. And as a legislative committee, we will meet on October 6th to track where those bills are. And I'll bring that back to the community as needed. That'll end my report for tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Epps. Next, we will move to the approval of agenda items on our consent agenda. Have a motion to approve.
So moved, Daniel Schultz.
Second, Robin Murphy.
Before we take a vote, I would like to open it up to the board for comments. Mr. Burdell Williams.
Yeah, so one of the items for approval on the agenda tonight is the retirement of Tim Holman, who had been the Director of Facilities for Cheltenham School District for about 4 years now. I've had the pleasure of working with Mr. Holman for all of those 4 years, and the groundwork that he laid in employee relations and helping us through some pretty challenging comeback from COVID times were very significant. You know, his impact here, you know, we'll hire a new person and get on with our lives, but his impact here, at least on me, it will stay, not just for the time that I'm in the seat, but in the time that the facilities by which he managed continue to stand, right? Because those folks, the folks who maintain those facilities, and Mr. Holman and folks who come before and after him, it's their duty. But I do want to just take a point of privilege to just thank him for his duty and his service here with us, wishing him the best. And at some point in time, hopefully we get to run into one another again.
Thank you, Mr. Burdell Williams. So we will take the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. The consent agenda is approved. We will now move to our public comments on non-agenda items. If you are in the auditorium and you have a comment, you can approach the podium, state your name and where you reside in the district. If you are online, you can email us. Okay.
Hi, I'm Joshua Owens, student council president. I'm from the Cheltenham area, like Cheltenham Elementary. I literally live right across the street. I've also got Lucas up here talking with me, but my topic is essentially lunch and learn being removed, or some may say changed, to Panther Prep. I just wanted to ask a couple questions and maybe somehow convince you at the student board to reconsider this choice. So first, I just want to ask, what are the, if you guys don't mind, if you are open to answering questions.
I know you guys are new. I haven't had the opportunity to work with you or Dr. Hammond. How you're approaching public comment is not the way it works.
Got it.
It's not a question answer period. I am more than glad to meet with you guys. Elizabeth is on my superintendent student advisory council. If you guys want to shoot me an email, I can schedule a time to receive your questions and also provide answers, and have the appropriate people there at the table to help facilitate that conversation. So I didn't want you to go down a path that was not going to bring you the desired result.
Could we make a couple of points regarding lunch and learn?
You can definitely make a couple of points.
All right. I just have two of the most major points here is the people that do Eastern at our high school. Specifically people who have the morning shift, basically. They miss Panther Prep. They don't have that time. They're not given that option. And I think this time is very valuable. It's with this time that many clubs will be taking place, as they used to take place during lunch and learn. It's the time, of course, to talk to your teachers, get extra help. And I think that it should be reconsidered because this is not affecting all students the same way. Specifically just because it's done in the morning, which is also my second point. Some students don't always get there on time to use this Panther Prep time, as we have homerooms now, but homeroom is after Panther Prep. I don't think that's effective here because some buses, for example, may be late. Students miss that Panther prep time that they may have needed. And yeah, Lucas here, if he has any points.
I would also like to speak on the timing of Panther Prep versus Lunch and Learn. Panther Prep is essentially a 30-minute and then like a 35-ish minute lunch, a 30-minute prep period and a 35-ish minute lunch, right? Which is split into two sections. It's 45 lunch, as Josh corrected me, which is split into two different sections. Taking into account transitional time, this is around 20 minutes more than community lunch with its 1 hour, like 1 hour limit and its transitional time. So it actually, I know we've compensated by taking away some of the the transitional time. It was 6 and now it's 4, I believe. But this has led in an increase of students being a couple minutes late because our school is it's a decent size. So we as students can't travel from one end of the school to the other end effectively in these 4 minutes, causing a delay in everybody's learning experience, which is taking away time from everybody overall.
I would also just like to make one more final point. This lunch and learn that we had last year and the year before that, it was used a lot by clubs. We have about roughly 60 clubs at our school, just for context, all of which have a decent amount of members, some a lot larger than others. This is taking away, I think, essential time from these clubs as this is very important. Sports, all of the other things, like musical, all that acting, they take up the time usually after school, and it's usually every day. Clubs being able to take place during lunch and learn, I think, is very beneficial for those who also do sports. And yeah, there are also people who are very involved in our school who participate in a lot of clubs who are student leaders, such as myself, such as many other students that I know. They would use this time very effectively, but it being downsized to 30 minutes is kind of it's not going to just affect the students like individuals, but it's going to affect our school because a lot of these people are student leaders. They help run things actually. And I think that should be another reason why you should reconsider this choice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Still, and I am a resident of Wyncote, and I live on Old Farm Road. And I just wanted to make a few comments about the journey of the hazardous trees behind our homes. First, I'd like to start off by thanking you for removing the hazardous trees from 304 and 306. We really appreciated that. When storms come through our neighborhood now, or in our area, we're able to sleep on the second floor of our homes and not have to sleep downstairs for the fear of trees coming through our homes. I'm a little anxious, forgive me, but I just want to thank you for the progress that we have made. But it would be wrong for me to stand here and say that the project is completed. The hazardous trees just don't affect 304 and 306. It affects the entire block on Old Farm Road. There are hazardous trees that still remain on our block where other neighbors' homes are in danger. We have seniors that live on our block that can be harmed and cannot get out of their homes without assistance. That remains. And so I want to acknowledge the progress that has been done, but I think it's important for me to acknowledge the fact that there are other neighbors who have signed the petition, over 30 of them, who are concerned about the trees that remain behind their homes. So in essence, I'm thanking you for what you've done for 2 of our properties, but there is a lot more work that has to be done. I also wanted to bring up the fact that it's not just the trees falling into and on our homes. Many of us have suffered unbelievable damage, and those expenses have not all been covered by our insurance. We haven't even begun to talk about the financial burden that it has put on us. The other thing that I wanted to put out is by the trees, the hazardous trees remaining on Old Farm Road, it still brings up the issue of us frequently losing our power. And so whenever storms pass through, we just look for our lights to flicker because we know we're going to lose power. And I'm thinking about the fact that we have another holiday coming up, Thanksgiving. Last year on Thanksgiving Day, we lost our power. And think about many of us who were cooking for family holiday meals. Myself, I was hosting. I could not host. And as a taxpayer, that is something that we should not have to live with. It's just not acceptable. And so the remaining trees do need to be removed. Also at 304, I am representing Tammy and Ron. They're our neighbors. The last storm that passed through, they suffered damage. Again, they put 2 roofs on their homes. There remains wires that are in their backyard, still laying on the lawn. We on our own have reached out to Verizon, PECO, and Comcast with no response. Today, unbeknownst to us, aspen tree experts that were hired by PECO came to assess the back of our property. They were there, they said, to look and see if there were any trees or branches laying on wires. So I'm not sure if you were aware of that. We weren't, nor were we notified. They just showed up. That happened today. The other thing that we would like, I don't want to just speak for myself, I'm speaking for all of us that live on 306, or not 306, Old Farm Road, including this lovely lady that stands beside me. We would like your help in reaching out to PECO, Comcast, and Verizon. We have attempted to do so with no response. We have wires that remain. We have broken pipes where the wires were reattached to the poles, I should say, and they're split from so many of the trees hitting the wires. And so we need your help to reach out to Comcast, PECO, and Verizon, and whoever is responsible. If we were to put our homes on the market now, the way the back of our homes look, we would lose value in our homes because of the way the back of our houses look. It looks like a war zone. We have submitted pictures, and if you'd like to come by and view it for yourself, I'm not making this up. Lovely Mr. Carter can speak for that. If you were to see the back of our homes, you would be shocked. And so even though we have done the best that we can with the property that we own, it's your property that we need your help with. And we also would like you to please recognize the rest of the neighbors on the block on Old Farm Road. Doris.
My name is Doris Pitts. I'm at 310 Old Farm Road. And I just want to speak to you in a different reference. When we moved into the neighborhood about 35 years ago, my husband was driving tractor trailer. He was out on a long haul, and before he left, the grass needed cut. But by the time he was gone for several days, there was a note put in my door from the township um, telling us that if we didn't cut the grass, that they would send someone to cut the grass and would charge us for it. So my husband got in, we cleaned it up right away. The school district is a resident in Wyncote, Cedarbrook Middle School, just like these young men said, and these students over here. We want our voice to be heard as residents. And this Cedarbrook Middle School is a neighbor to us. And just as I was responsible to keep my grass cut and trees trimmed, sidewalk done, and house upkeep done and maintained, Cedarbrook Middle School needs to be responsible for their land also. The back of my house, so many trees have fallen. They're laying flat. And as I look out my back window, I can see trees up. They're dead because for the past couple of years, they have no leaves on them. They will be falling soon. And also, when I know that a storm is coming, I go downstairs and sleep in the front of the house in my family room on the couch. I don't want to do that too much longer. I would like the school district to be responsible for their property the same way I have to be. And thank you for letting me share that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to end my comments by, again, thanking you for what you have done. I don't want you to think that we have not acknowledged that. We're grateful, but there's much more that needs to be done. But I wanted to make sure that I ended my comments by saying thank you again.
Yes, and I thank you also.
Thank you.
These are back. All right. Good evening, board members, Dr. Scriven and members of the community. My name is Larry Diggs. I am a resident of Cheltenham. I'm a parent in the community as well. I have 2 kids in Cedarbrook and 1 in CES. He's in a gifted program. Not to say my girls aren't gifted. We just have not found their gift yet. But I'm here, and I'll tell you why and how I got here, my journey to this podium here, right? So there was a meeting over the summer in August at some point. I believe members of the board were there. There was Irv Brockington, one of our commissioners, in that meeting, as well as some of the officers in Cheltenham were in that meeting. And they were discussing, and my wife was at that meeting, they were discussing the traffic around Cheltenham Elementary. So it's been a problem for a while. And now we have a 5th grade added to that mix and more cars added to that environment as well. So there was that meeting in August. There was another meeting that I attended because my wife was a little frustrated with the first meeting. So she sent me to the second one. And this had, I believe, only Officer Murphy from the Cheltenham Police, as well as Commissioner Irv Brockington in that meeting. And then you had concerned parents, again, voicing some frustration, some concern about the traffic, the cluster within the parking situation, the drop-off pickup situation within Cheltenham Elementary. And if you've driven by, you understand the high points of the confusion, the cluster are at drop-off and at pickup, right? So that's how I got here, because in that meeting, it was suggested I speak to the board, and I'm gonna read a prepared statement, and then I'll send you guys an email that I would like to have dialogue about the situation, right? All right, so again, I attended recently the traffic meeting with the township officials, and I want to start by acknowledging That efforts have been made. We're grateful for the placement of traffic cones, the painting of curbs, as well as the police presence at pickup and drop off. And these actions are a step in the right direction, and we truly appreciate the support. However, the meeting also brought to light some critical, outstanding issues that still need to be addressed. We learned that a formal traffic study has not been completed, and there is still no timeline for the installation of speed cushions. I know speed bumps is a bad word, but speed cushions at Cheltenham Elementary. We also heard that PennDOT is kind of a barrier for some of these efforts as well, and in implementing traffic calming measures. My concern is that our children's safety shouldn't be a matter of uncertainty. We need to move from temporary fixes to permanent data-driven solutions. I love the presentation. I'm in data. So using data to address the issue, I think, is the right way to go. And our families deserve a clear path forward. And right now there is not. That's why I'm here tonight to ask for your partnership. I, along with other parents, would like to assist in the efforts to create a safer environment around our school. We respectfully ask the school board to take 3 key actions. Commission a formal traffic study. This is the foundational first step to identify the most effective solutions for what is going on within Cheltenham Elementary. Designate a specific point of contact from the board. One of the issues, and I'm going off script from my prepared statements. One of the issues that we found in that last meeting was an email was sent. I don't know who was sent to on the board. It doesn't matter. It was sent in April or May, and there was never a response, which caused a concern from the parents on the last meeting. If you didn't get a response, why not follow up? So we're going to need a point of contact when we are talking about these things. Who is that? And obviously we're going to send the email to you, Dr. Scriven, but if there's a point of contact for this issue, that would be much appreciated. I think that's not a huge lift. And again, we're not looking for, I know it's not an easy, there's not an easy path. It's not an easy answer, but as long as there's dialogue, communication, we can report back to parents. I think that's fair. And then using this board's authority to open dialogue with PennDOT. All right. So one of the things that came, and again, I'm off script. One of the things that came up in the meeting is that, hey, PennDOT says you can't do this on a state road, or PennDOT says you can't do that. My question to the commissioner and to the officer was, are you saying that in the entire state of Pennsylvania, we don't have any speed cushions on any state roads in the entire state of Pennsylvania? The answer to that is probably we do, right? And that we need to push past whatever that roadblock is so that our kids are in a safer environment. And that's really the only reason I'm standing in front of you. We have no speed cushions. There's a need to calm the pickup drop-off cluster and prevent bad actors, parents, unfortunately, breaking traffic laws on a daily basis. Today, I dropped off, my son. And outside of Cheltenham, you cannot make a left. The 3 cars in front of me made a left, but there's nobody there. There's no measure in place to calm the traffic and force parents to do the right thing. The one thing that I also learned is that even though we have a police presence there, they're giving warnings and not tickets, right? If there's a financial penalty, then you probably won't do that thing again, right? So we can't just slap them on the wrist. And again, I'm a parent. I probably have made a bad decision once or twice around Cheltenham Elementary. I try to do the right thing most times. But if there's a financial penalty for doing the wrong thing in regards to traffic and keeping our kids safe, I think that's a good thing. So I'm back on script. All right, the safety of our children is our top priority. We believe that by working together, we can address these issues and ensure our students have a safe journey to and from school. And that's really why I'm here. It's been since 2014 that yes.
So
I'm long?
We well exceeded. I was trying to give you
No, yeah, just cut it. All right. So
somebody get in contact.
gotcha. All right. Thank you for the time. I appreciate it.
I'll be your point of contact. I'll reach out.
Got it. Thank you.
Hey guys, it's me again. Just a reminder, my name's Elizabeth Stryker. This is a separate thing that not related to student council at all. This is just a me and my team thing. So it's my 4th year in the Cheltenham Color Guard, which is adjacent to the marching arts, marching band type thing. I wanted to make a little request for yard line paintings on the practice field. They're already there, but as you know, our stadium's being we don't have one, so we're on the practice field. And all the football kids come in and there's like no grass there, so it all kicks away. And like the whole middle of that field, there's like no lines. And we're doing our outdoor show and we can't see the yard markers because it's late at night. And thank you for the lights up there, by the way. That's really helpful. But we just can't see because there's no lines and it gets really hard. So that's just a small little, could we get that repainted? Like, that would be great. And then a second thing is we would love more gym space in the upcoming indoor season. Typically, whenever we have practice Mondays and Wednesdays, 6 to 9 p.m. and on Fridays after school sometimes. Most of the time after school, we go up. We normally practice in the small gym, which is fine, but there's like 33 of us and there's 33 young women and 1 man, and all of us in that little tiny gym is like a lot, right? And in indoor season, we perform on this really big vinyl floor, and it's about the size of a basketball court for reference. And we need it to see and do our show and learn off of it. So having a big gym and big, consistent gym space is really important to us. We can't just learn a show and then be like, put it on. We have to orient ourselves properly. But most of the time, the problems is whenever we get into the school, there's somebody in the gym. It could be volleyball or basketball or all those. Sorry, my voice is giving out. But I was wondering maybe a small solution to that would be to add a basketball hoop in the little gym or some other alternate practice area for the sports that could be easily transferred, like volleyball and basketball and all that. So those were just my 2 things, the repainting of the yard markers and more gym space. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Stryker. Okay. So, looks like we don't have any other speakers. Our future meetings are as listed on our agenda with a couple of notations that the facilities and financial affairs meeting will be held in November on November 5th, Wednesday, November 5th, instead of Tuesday due to the election. And also that the hybrid legislative board meeting will be Tuesday, November 10th. Those corrections will be made to the agenda and on the calendar. Can I have a motion to adjourn our meeting?
So moved, Zachary Epps.
Second, Charles Bordeaux Williams.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
The meeting is adjourned.
Second.